Actually, the soil sample is very interesting, and I think that it's very successful. One of the best samples in Europe that you achieve the best life and peace and democracy and security and cooperation development areas. I want just to tell one joke to change the atmosphere here, because I will follow your proposal, not go to the details of the conflicts, but to focus on the future. What we have to do to solve the problems, because we are the member of the parliaments, we are not the Minister of the Defense. You know, when it was the Second World War between the China and Japanese, when it was finished, the Japanese army, they decided to withdraw their troops from the Chinese. But one of the part of the Japanese army, they have status in the mountains in the China. It was just 22 peoples there. But during the 1 year, they couldn't communicate with them to explain that the war was finished. And during the 1 year, the Chinese people also tried to pass them the message that the war was finished and you didn't have to fight with them. That's why I asked to somebody here to explain to my Armenian colleagues why and for what purpose we are here, why we came from the very nice and long hotels. What about the Tyrol's? As I know, in 1994, OSCE has offered Georgia to solve the conflict between Georgia and Abkhazia on the model of the Tyrol's. In 2011, Azerbaijan president, when he declared that we are ready to provide Nagorno-Karabakh the highest level of status of autonomy, and one of the sample it was shown the South Tyrol also. So this model is very close to us. I mean, it's very understandable because I would say that two lessons that we got from the presentation also. The first lesson is that the South Tyrol shows, and the SAR region also, that we have to solve the conflicts on the basis of the phased solutions, not the package solutions. Because what did we say in Azerbaijan also? What's the difference of the Nagorno-Karabakh? There is a lot of similarities, but there's a lot of the difference also. What's the big difference is that Armenia has occupied not only the Nagorno-Karabakh, but they has occupied the 4 times more than territories than Nagorno-Karabakh. So when we talk about it, let's discuss what the peoples that is living in Nagorno-Karabakh, we shouldn't forget about it that for these regions, 800,000 people has been deported. I'm personally from the Karabakh.
Me too.
But except for you, I couldn't visit my home. And I cannot visit also now. Because when my mother asks me, show me please my home, what is happening here, when I go to the Google satellite, I show only the 4 walls that the house was born and was destroyed. What's the problem? I'm like the member of parliament couldn't do it. So there's a very deep something problem is that the main problem is the occupation. Because what we say about it is that let's start to deoccupy Azerbaijan territories. Let's withdraw your troops. All of that happens now, all of that the people is dying from the both sides is that because of the Armenian soldiers now is in Azerbaijan territories that they have occupied. And somebody also asked them, what are the Armenian soldiers are looking for in these territories? I don't talk about the Nagorno-Karabakh yet. I'm talking about the regions that they have occupied. When we start to say about it that the phased solution, we think about it that first of all that they should start the occupation processes. We think about it that the peoples in Nagorno-Karabakh, especially the Armenian and also Azerbaijan, is our citizens. What's Azerbaijan's position? We want that Nagorno-Karabakh conflict should be solved as soon as possible. We want that this conflict should be solved with the peaceful ways. We want that the people in the region, especially in the Caucasus, should live in happiness, in security, and in development process. This is the position of Azerbaijan. We don't have any positions now. The second lesson that we got from the South Tyrol is that in the South Tyrol there is a 2 community. It's Italian and the German community. And this is very good samples of how these 2 communities could live together, how they could develop their regions and how they could cooperate. If you see the history in Azerbaijan, both communities, Armenian and Azerbaijan, Nagorno-Karabakh, they have lived in the peaceful and the security. There was not any problem before the conflict with them. But even till now, in the Baku, there is 30,000 Armenian peoples living in Baku. 30,000, but you cannot find any other person in Nagorno-Karabakh or in Armenia also. Especially my neighbor, where I'm living, the Baku, is the women from Armenia. So we don't have any ethnic problems with the people, but we have the problem with the occupation powers that they did it in the region also. And at the last, I want to say one difference, that both of the South and Ansar, they never required independence. Never required. But in Nagorno-Karabakh, as you just has been witnessed, that they want, first of all, that they want independence. But we think about this, and I agree with them, Dr. Decker and Mr. Klimt also said, to be happiness to develop the region, it's not important to create the national government, but because they have the national government in Armenia, but in Azerbaijan, like the high level of autonomy, we think about it, because Azerbaijan is the economically very powerful country. And the last, I want to say the difference. My colleague from Armenia said that how they teach the children here. But, you know, I will say the difference, how we teach children in Azerbaijan. When my children ask me, who is Armenia? Who is the Armenian peoples? What we say in Azerbaijan? We say that this is the history, you have to know history very well, what they did, but you will live together, because you are the neighbor nations. You will have to develop the Caucasus region together. That's why my suggestion to colleagues that don't teach the peoples to hate and to be enemies to each other. Thank you very much.
Ja, vielen Dank auch.